Hey, Legal Rebels, this is Tom Martin. I'm the founder of LawDroid, and this is my podcast, LawDroid Manifesto, where I interview legal innovators about how they do what they do.
In this episode, I interview Damien Riehl, solutions champion at Vlex, whose unique blend of legal expertise and brainy technological innovation has revolutionized how we think about legal data interoperability, access to justice, and even music and copyright law. Welcome to the LawDroid Manifesto podcast. I'm your host, Tom Martin. I'm thrilled today to have on board Damien Riehl. He is the solutions champion at Vlex, amongst many, many other things. He is a very impressive individual. I had the good fortune to just hang out with him in Tallinn, Estonia at the Future Law Conference, and I'm happy to have him here today. Damien, if you could just tell us a little bit about what you're up to now.
Great. Thanks, Tom. I always enjoy our conversations. It's even better now that it's being recorded. So thank you so much for having me on. These days, my day job is with Vlex, where I help build things and talk about the stuff I've built. So we have a data set of 1 billion legal documents, and we are parsing those and extracting everything that matters and running large language models across them. So that's at least my day job, what I'm up to now. And at the very moment, it's a beautiful day in Minnesota, and my wife is outside in the backyard, and here I am talking to you. So it couldn't be better today.
Yeah, I hear that. And here in Vancouver, we have a rare day too, where it's just gorgeous out. And at some point, I'm hoping to get outside, walk the dog, and take it all in.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. Well, as for what it's all about right now, at least in the professional side of it, there's so much going on. I mean, it's almost every single day. There's new, not only like technological changes, but political and societal news that's coming up that seems to be at a pace of change that we've never seen before. I guess generally, just what are your thoughts about that off the top of your head?
That's I think I was just thinking about that as I was about to prep for my call with you, that I've never been at a busier time in my life. And I think that it seems like society is just moving more quickly than it ever has in my lifetime. I'm about to turn 50, and it seems like technologically we're just being whipsawed with technological shift over technological shift over technological shift, and real questions as to what is society going to look like with knowledge work, with large language models being able to maybe do a lot of tasks within that knowledge work, and are we going to be able to adapt as a society? That's technologically, and then you have also geopolitically all the stuff going on with, a change of administration and really things happening very quickly on that side too. So anyway, I feel like I'm being whipsawed one way or the other, technologically and geopolitically. And as my friend Sean West wrote in his book on Riehl, there's kind of 3 triangles. There's the geopolitics, there's AI and technology, and then there's the law. And whether the law is actually the rule of law seems to be degrading worldwide, and maybe a bit in the United States too. So anyway, geopolitics plus the rule of law plus AI is, I think, got everybody kind of confused and whipsawed.
Totally agree. Sean West is cool too. I think he has some great insight about that triangle. By the way, you gave a fantastic presentation at Future Law.
Thanks so much.
I definitely want to get into a lot of those things, like all of the things, the conceptual, the AI, the technological. But as everyone who watches this knows, I love people's origin stories, and I want to dive into yours. I know that you're currently in Minnesota, right?
That's right.
Did you grow up there? Were you born there? Like, where did you start?
I'm going to start by saying I love that you're asking this question. It's really getting to the humanity of you as a human being. So thank you for the question. I'm originally from North Dakota. I'm originally from Bismarck, North Dakota. I grew up in, I went to a Catholic high school, and was there until I went to go to college in Fargo, North Dakota, and then I went to law school in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I kept going east until it felt right, and Minneapolis felt right.
Wow. Well, I guess we have Catholic school in common. That has a certain culture of its own.
That's right. There's a as a Catholic, there's a service to humanity, and certainly I think it seems like you have that service to humanity, and I like.
Definitely so, and it's only going to come out more as we talk about your life and career, which has been expansive and very impressive. Well, first off, where you grew up, what was that? What was your town like? Was it a big one? Was it small? Like, what were the people like?
Yeah, I grew up in Bismarck, North Dakota has about 75,000 people. At least it did when I was growing up there in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Yeah, that it was. It's kind of a really small-ish town. I have family. My father has 7 brothers and sisters, and my mom has, I think, 8 brothers and sisters. So we spent a lot of times going to weddings, funerals, dances, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's a very small town within a mid-size-ish 75,000 person town.
Everyone knew each other, right?
It seems that way. Yeah, that's if you don't know someone, there's at least one degree of separation where you do know someone of someone.
And your parents, what kind of stuff did they do?
My dad is a boilermaker, so he worked. There's a big coal-fired power plant about 40 miles from my house. So he would get up at 5 a.m., drive to the coal-fired power plant, and work in 140-degree temperatures and weld boilers. So that was his job. My mom is a homemaker, so she took care of us. I have 3 brothers, 4 boys in my family. So my mom took care of us kids, and my dad was a boilermaker. Very blue collar.
Okay, so you had 3 siblings, and then each of your parents had 7 or 8. You said so, like it was a pretty big family.
We were Catholic after all.
What order were you amongst your brothers?
I have an older brother, and then it's me, and then 2 of my younger brothers. And
Okay.
and the joke was that my mom trying for a girl until my last youngest brother, and then she finally got one. He loves
Wow.
that joke, by the way.
What was that like with your family? Was there like a sibling rivalry? Like, was there, what were the dynamics like?
Sure. So my older brother is about 14 months older than I am, and then there was a 7-year gap, and then my younger brothers are about 14 months away from each other. So there was a bit of a sibling rivalry between my older brother and me. I'm number 2 of 4, and as the younger of 2, I always tried to be better, faster, stronger than my older brother. So I'd like to think that brought a little of my competitive nature before I became a lawyer. I'd like to think that between that sibling rivalry and arguing with my mom, I had a great foundation to be a lawyer.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting how like our family dynamics and all of that has a really deep, impression and influence on how we go about things in life. I mean, I could see just from what you said, your dad getting up 5 a.m. to go work, that kind of discipline and dedication. I know for myself is something that's rubbed off from my parents. I imagine it has with you too.
100%. Yeah. Hard work was always something that was instilled in us from a young age. We grew up, we had a coal-fired heat. So like we would go out and chop wood and, put the wood in stack it up in the backyard and then throw it into the house so that if we get cold in the middle of the night, throw wood on the stove. So hard work is something that I've had all my life. And as I to a point in my career where I don't have to work 7 days a week, it's almost like I'm twiddling my thumbs trying to figure out what. So workaholism is a real thing, and yeah, it turns out that one can have that instilled in you from a young age.
I hear you about that. So, I mean, in university, not to skip ahead too much, but like when you went to North Dakota University, I think you focused in education, right?
Yeah, I was a music major. I was a bachelor's degree in music education, so I was going to be a choir director. But then at my last year of student teaching, 2 of my tenors, while I was conducting a Brahms piece, 2 of my tenors started punching each other in the face, and I thought, oh, maybe I should go to law school. So yeah, I went to law school.
Really? That was the genesis of it?
Part of it, I'd been thinking toward the end, do I really want to get paid $20,000 a year and have to live in Nowheresville, nowhere to paid next to nothing to be a choir teacher? So I'd already thinking maybe about doing something else, but the tenors punched each other in the face. It was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I think a lot of us either like fall into one of 2 camps. Like one is that from a young age, they just had some bug in them to want to be a lawyer. But others, it's a more practical decision. Like I have my own degree in philosophy and partly had to think about, do I want to go down that road of becoming a professor or teaching it or doing something professional. So
Yeah.
law is kind of like applied philosophy.
It's true. I mean, the law is, yeah, it's more practical, I would say, than most philosophers. That you get to be able to, yeah, actually affect people in a very true way as being a lawyer. So, yeah, I think you've made the right choice. You're helping people in a better way than maybe philosophizing might.
I'm curious because of like, you being involved directly in legal technology now. Like, did you have early experiences with computers that stayed with you?
Yeah, I started coding BASIC at age 10 on my Commodore 128. So I remember distinctly, subscribing to Commodore magazines and getting them in the mail, and then retyping the code that I saw on the pages, and trying to really figure out how to create, circles and squares to be able to create moving pixels. And yeah, it was something that I'd done from age 10 all the way through the rest of my life, because I was in I graduated from college in 1997, right around the time that, I'm sorry, I graduated from, that was high school, around 1997, right around the time that the World Wide Web was really coming into the fore. And so I was, 97, 98, 99, I did a lot of HTML and dug into Perl a little bit and JavaScript a little bit. So my whole life I've been kind of a really awful coder. And it turns out that with vibe coding these days, you don't need a great coder to actually build things.
Yeah, but having that, smattering of experience, it helps a lot because it's a bit about the mindset, just kind of understanding like how you would structure things or that you need to even structure them.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, and the number of lawyers that really have a good grip of what technology can and should do. There aren't many of us around, so I would count you amongst them. So to have a combination of a little bit of technical savvy and maybe a lot of subject matter expertise in the law, I think that's served me pretty well, and it seems like it's served you too.
So then you go to law school, and what are some of the thoughts there? Were there any professors that kind of influenced you, or like what direction did you take during law school? Did you choose to focus in any particular area?
Yeah, in my first semester, I got to know a professor named Robert Oliphant, who he was also a technologist. Where he, this is in 2001. I'm sorry, 1999 is when I started. So back in 1999, he was just he had a textbook he wanted to put onto HTML pages, and so I worked with him as my first semester to be able to convert that textbook into HTML and putting different chapters into different pages. And I spent probably a semester on that project. And so, yeah, so law and technology is something that I knew that I'd want to do. Backtracking a little bit, when I was between graduating from law school, between graduating from college and going to law school, I worked for the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the District of North Dakota, kind of trying to figure out what I was going to do next. And one of the judges there, the Article 3 federal judge I was talking with, and I said, I'm thinking about doing something with law and technology. Because I'm thinking about going to school in Minnesota. And of course, Thomson Reuters is right there in Minnesota. And I said to that judge, I said, really, everything that lawyers do is words. And we can today, in 1998, we can really search words really quickly if they just get digitized. And actually, my job working for the bankruptcy court was scanning all of the paper records and then OCRing them so that they, searchable digitally. So I said to the judge in 1998, I said, I think I'd really like to be able to kind of be in the intersection of law and technology because I think we can do some great things. And that Article 3 judge said to me, "You'd be crazy to do that." He said that nobody respects law technologists. He said if you want to be a respected lawyer, you can't go down that. So anyway, so that was in 1998, and here I am today. And I think maybe he was wrong. I think that we can do a lot of good with law and technology.
Yeah, wholeheartedly, he was wrong. But it's an interesting time capsule of like how things were viewed, and still in some cultural views within lawyers, it's viewed that way. But I think it's inescapable now. Bob Ambrogi had a great way of looking at it, that you have this Venn diagram where it used to be technology and the law, but now those two circles are kind of overlapping right now. And for all the reasons you stated, that large language models, lawyers work with language. It's just we're all in the same game now.
Yeah, everything we as lawyers do is based on words. We ingest them, we analyze them, and we output words. And yeah, lawyers can, large language models can do that at superhuman speed in a postgraduate level.
And so, in working with those words, one of your initial jobs was working as a judicial clerk, and I was curious as to what your experience was like. This was with Judge Edward Toussaint,
Yeah,
and with Michael Davis after.
Yeah, so Judge Edward Toussaint is one of the best human beings I've ever met. He was kind, is kind, and was giving, and yeah, I went to a mid-level law school, William Mitchell, and I came out. I'd actually helped Judge Toussaint. He'd also had been teaching a technology kind of in the law course, and so I was actually helping him during law school, and I got to know him quite well. When I went to this middling law school and ended up at the end of my tenure without any offers from any law firms, he said, "Oh, you need to work for me then." So he very kindly offered me a job, and it was probably the best year of working of my life up to that point, because he was the chief judge of the Minnesota Court of Appeals. The joke about the Minnesota Court of Appeals is the hardest working court in show business, where I had a new opinion every single week. So over the course of 52 weeks, I cranked out 52 judicial opinions. And so in that 1 year, I got to see criminal cases. I got to see civil cases, and not just some criminal and some civil, but like a wide breadth of so many cases that if I had been a first-year associate at a law firm, I wouldn't have gotten nearly that amount of breadth of things. So anyway, so he not only exposed me to a lot of great working experience, that is 52 different cases, but he also exposed me to some of the best work-life experiences that I've ever had in my life. He asked me, and I was a brand new, I'd been newly married at that point. This is 2001. We got married in June of 2001, and around July of 2001, Judge Toussaint said, it was a Friday afternoon, and he said, "Damien, where's your wife? Where's your beautiful wife?" And I said, "Well, she's at home, Judge. She has the summers off because she's a professor." And he said, "Why are you not with her on a Friday afternoon?" I said, "That's a good question, Judge. I think I'm going to go be with my wife on this beautiful Friday afternoon." So anyway, so we worked very hard for Judge Toussaint, and he also knew that there are more important things than the work that you do. There's being kind, and there's being good. So he certainly taught me that.
Well, and congratulations on 24 years. Yeah, when we finish up, you'll. I understand that she's in the garden, and you'll get to join her.
Yeah, I'll go. She's on a swing, and I'll go swing with her. Yeah.
That sounds nice. Professional lessons, also some personal lessons. The professional lessons, I mean, yeah, no doubt that you wouldn't have gotten that breadth of experience from working as an associate, where you probably would have been down in the basement, scouring through legal research and not really getting exposed to like real life cases on multiple different practice areas. And then, personally, obviously, what we just talked about, that keep everything in perspective. So you did go to work with Judge Michael Davis, and then after that, you did work for some time as an attorney for 9 years. What was that experience like? Did working as a lawyer, with a day in, day out, as we typically do, did that suit you, or was there a bit of friction there?
Oh, I loved working as a lawyer. It's there's little more exhilarating than going to the heat of battle. And so I really liked working for Chief Judge Toussaint was, very academic. It's an appellate court after all. So it was almost like going up into the, white ivory tower and, thinking about things for a year. And then after I thought about things for a year for them, I worked for a law firm called Jardine, Logan & O'Brien. So they did insurance defense work. And so I did that, and that I don't know if you've ever worked insurance defense, but that is a volume game, and I was often playing the role of saying, your neck, I don't think it's that broken. I think you're fake. Which that was less of a rewarding career in law. So anyway, worked for Chief Judge Toussaint, worked for insurance defense for a year. And then at that point, Chief Judge Davis had said, hey, would you like to work with me to work at the federal district court? And I thought, well, yeah, I worked at the state appellate court. It'd be really good to work at this federal district court. And so I was able to work for Chief Judge Davis at the federal district court for a year. And after having worked as a lawyer for a year at Jardine, Logan & O'Brien, and then going back to being a clerk, I enjoyed that clerkship even more because I knew that how lucky I was to have that experience. And just like Chief Judge Toussaint, I spent a 52-week cranking out 52 decisions. In the same way, the district court level is such a fast and furious kind of thing where you have criminal cases and you have trials and you have it's much more hectic. And also I was able to see all of the humanity that came through the door. All of the criminal defendants that were pleading guilty, and being coming to tears as they were repentant, or they said they were for what they did. And Chief Judge Davis really treating them with respect and humanity, and being able to say that you're going to have to serve time, and I hope you learn from this time, and really treating with the utmost respect everybody that came in front of them. So yeah, it was both of those judicial experiences were great for different reasons, and besides the humanity that came from both, I think the ability to write well was another aspect of it. If you're cranking out 52 opinions a week, or 52 opinions in a year, one a week, you learn how to be very efficient in your writing, and you learn how to really take the basic items of Strunk and White and really apply them well. The active voice and being able to really never say in 10 words what you can say in 5. And so that's something I think that I've carried throughout my career. And we try to build in VLEX as we do drafting tools. There's all sorts of writing prompts in the background to be able to say this is how legal writing is, active voice, etc. So we really bring those into our legal tech.
Well, good writing is good communication, which is a reflection of actually knowing what you're talking about, right?
It's funny, yeah. So after, as I still don't think I'm a great writer, but I think I've gotten better over the years. But I found that as I become a better writer, you become a better speaker. That is, if you think in passive voice, then your words as you speak is, the listener has to really jump through hurdles to be able to see what. But if you speak in active voice, it's much easier to communicate. So anyway, so I think good writing leads.
Absolutely. I guess it was Einstein, right, that said that
if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough.
Right.
Or something to that effect.
So I didn't understand that quotation well enough to say it simply. But I like the turns in your career where it's kind of like zooming in on the practice and then zooming out with kind of like the appellate practice, seeing it from different perspectives. And then with all of that experience, then you went to go work at Thomson Reuters. Yeah.
And yeah, so in between there, I spent 9 years at Robbins Kaplan, where I worked for big cases for big clients, and those are some of the best litigators I've ever known in my life. Amongst them was people that Mike Cerisi beat Big Tobacco and got a $3 billion judgment, and he was the one who convinced the judge in Ramsey County to say, hey, all those doctors, things that were allegedly attorney-client privileged, saying, yeah, we know that we're causing cancer. All of those doctors' memoranda should not be privileged. And that's essentially broke up in the cases for tobacco. And that's led to the dominoes falling nationwide. So Mike Cerisi did that. And I worked with some of the most amazing lawyers I've ever had. So over 9 years at Robbins Kaplan. And then after that, I worked at Thomson Reuters in 20. And that came about. I got to know one of the people at TR because they had kind of rolled out some beta testing things, and they asked for our opinions on what it looked like. So their product team did that. So I got to know one of their product team people, and I said, here's legal tech that I think can change the world. You should build it and hire me. And they were dumb enough to build it and hire me. So we worked together on some really cool things.
Okay, so let's unpack that. What was that about? What was the thing that you were sharing with them?
There's some NDAs that I'll have to work around, so I'm not going to give any I'm not to disclose any confidential information, but I can talk about a patent that I'm a co-inventor on with some other folks at TR that's public. So I'll talk about the publicly filed patent. So that patent says that if you have a matter, whether it's a litigation matter or a transactional matter, you can break up that matter into, say, 1,000 tasks. And then for any one of those tasks, you could be able to say, here's the way to do that task. That is, here are the legal research resources. Here are the precedents within our document management system. Here's practical applications on how to be able to do these tasks. And here's who in your firm has done this task. So you can ask them how it works. And then you as a partner can assign it to the associate, that task 357. And then you'd move task 357 from to do, to doing, to done. And now you know how long it takes to do task 357. And because you know how long it takes, you know the cost of task 357. And so now that you know the cost not just of that task, but all the aggregate tasks, when a new thing comes in the door and you say, I need to try to build a budget for that, now you can say, now I know about how much these things cost, and you can build a better budget. So that's the patent that's in my name that I'm not speaking out of school about.
No worries. I won't press you anymore about that. But one thing it does reveal to me is just your systems thinking, like your ability to do, especially at that point, like you weren't, it wasn't an assignment. You weren't challenged to do that. You weren't required to do that from what I'm hearing by Robins Kaplan, or from working with the judges. This is something that, that you just intuited yourself. And how did that, look, I know from knowing you that you're quite the autodidact, and you've learned many different skills in many different areas. But was there something that brought that about, or was it just a natural turn of the way you viewed things that you thought you'd bring that to the table?
So throughout my entire litigation career, I thought this practice of law should be done better. That knowing that technology can help so many things, I thought nobody around me is using technology in the way that it could be best used. So throughout my litigation career, I was thinking about how could this be done better? How can we use tools to be able to do things faster, better, stronger? So I'd been thinking about that, what I just described, probably for about 5 or 6 years. So that would be from maybe 2010 through about 2015. And really, it's not rocket science. It's just project management. But it's something that lawyers generally don't have great project management skills. So we need help and to be able to assign things and be able to train younger lawyers in the way to do things in a way that older lawyers generally don't give training, like in the old apprenticeship model.
Yeah, and that model, it's great in a lot of ways. I mean, you described it from working with the judges and at the law firm. I know from my own experience, working for some of these older practitioners that just had a very craftsman-like way of working on things that gave you a deep appreciation for the law as a profession, not just a business. So with that experience, you got your foot into legal technology, and it sounds like that, you got hooked.
It's legal technology is it's still of course burgeoning, and of course back in 2015 it was just really hitting its stride. So I got hooked, and there was, after I left TR, I did a stint in cybersecurity, so not legal tech, but it was just cybersecurity, where we would do both the proactive to try to keep people from getting hacked, and then a reactive. So if somebody gets hacked, all my cybersecurity guys would go in, figure out where the bad guys got in, get them out, figure out what data, if any, was exfiltrated, and then try to work to be able to mitigate that damage. So anyway, so I did that for a couple of years, and then I went back to legal tech.
Well, I want to unpack that a little bit, because I learned that in prepping for this, but I didn't know that previously. And I'm just where did that left turn come from?
It's law and technology. So it's not as much of a left turn as one would think, but I got to know, I've known since 1999 a guy named Paul Lear, who is a lawyer that worked as an assistant U.S. attorney when I clerked for Chief Judge Davis. So he appeared in front of me and did a lot of criminal cyber cases where people were doing child pornography and all sorts of things that involve the internet. And he would bring those cases. So I'd known Paul since 1999. Paul worked for this cybersecurity company. It's called Strauss Friedberg. And Paul, at that point in I guess it was 2017 or 2018, said, "I'm going to be leaving Strauss Friedberg, but we need a mini me to be able to kind of work in this." And Strauss Friedberg was, and maybe still is, one of the few cybersecurity firms where they hire lawyers like me and lawyers like Paul. And this is a consultancy where they were acting not as lawyers, but they were a liaison between the technical people, that is the cybersecurity people, and the lawyers that hired us. And I, as a liaison, would be able to essentially make sure that the technical people didn't say anything that would lose privilege, and they and would essentially try to keep in technical terms to the lawyers. I was a translator from tech to lawyer, and then from lawyer to tech. So anyway, so that was a really fun, amazing engagement where I would be able to work with some of the smartest technologists in the world, and some of the best lawyers in the world. And the biggest engagement that we worked on was that Facebook, and this had hired me and Strauss Friedberg to investigate Cambridge Analytica. So I spent a year of my life on Facebook's campus with Facebook's data scientists and my former FBI, CIA, NSA people that worked with me, and we figured out how bad guys use Facebook. So that some of the most exhilarating times of my life was that.
Wow. And it now makes perfect sense to me that, you, as you continue to be a fantastic translator between the two worlds of, law and technology, that makes a lot of sense that was your forte there. Tell me a little bit about the friends and colleagues in the NSA and FBI, to the extent that you can.
Sure. So yeah, everyone's career takes shifts, and they decided that they didn't want to be in the government anymore, and so they went to private practice, and they used a lot of their resources. A lot of intelligence is trying to figure out, is this a good guy or is this a bad guy? So they would do deep research as to what is the background. So, for example, we were investigating a company that maybe was alleged to have taken Facebook data. Was that a Chinese hacking group? Or was that a Russian oligarch? And what was the background of these? And so that was the former government employees that did that when they were part of the government, and then they did it in private practice for the engagement we were on.
Interesting. Okay, then you go on to Fastcase. Describe, not exactly step by step, but what was your progression like there, and what was the focus that you had? Was it translating between the two worlds?
So I'd been working at Facebook, flying out there on Sunday, coming back on Friday, and doing that back and forth 57 weeks in a row, which got quite old. And wow. So I'd known Ed Walters for a while at that point, and Ed Walters was the CEO of Fastcase. And I said, Ed, you've got one of the best data sets in the world. That is, you've got cases, you've got statutes, you've got regulations, and only 3 companies in the world have that. And I worked at one of them, and I really want to work with you to be able to essentially run data science across those. And after a few years of talking, he said back in 2019, he said, all right, it's time. Let's bring you on. And so from July of 2019, I've been able to really work on, I would say this is maybe the pinnacle of my career where I feel like I'm doing my life's best work. And it's mostly because, number one, we have the data, but more importantly, everybody to a person at Fastcase and now VLEX, I think, is a good human being. I trust everybody there, and I think that we're all kind of rowing in the same direction. And that, that's not something, having worked in many different environments, that's not something I do lightly. That is a privilege, and I think I'm really lucky to be working in such a good place, doing good work with such good human beings.
That's awesome. To be in a workplace that's not only like doing it for a living, but it's also a great living in the sense that, you get to live the days with people that are wonderful to talk to, not just as professionals, but as human beings, and to learn from them. And I do want to get a little bit more into, what you're doing at VLEX, but I need to mention to the audience, if they're not aware, that and at the same time, in the meanwhile, you're using your background in music and essentially unpacking, decoding 68.7 billion melodies and, essentially copywriting them for the benefit of the public at large and artists. So that sounds crazy. How does it? If you could make sense of that for everyone, so they understand what I'm talking about.
Sure. The 68 billion was the initial data set. At this point, we've copyrighted 471 billion melodies. And the way that we did that is through brute force. You can brute force a password by going AAA, AAB, AAC. We did that with music, where we went da-da-da-do, da-da-da-re, da-da-da-mi, da-da-da-fa, until we mathematically exhausted every melody that's ever been and every melody that ever can be, to the tune of 471 billion melodies. We wrote them to disk. And under the Berne Convention, once they're written to disk, they're copyrighted. So I've copyrighted 471 billion melodies. And then we put everything in the public domain to protect the "You Stole My Melody" lawsuit defendants. So I gave a TED Talk. This is right around the time that I was working at the Facebook engagement. And I gave a TED Talk that's been now seen about 2 million times. And before that TED Talk, every defendant in those "You Stole My Melody" lawsuit cases, every defendant in those cases lost before my talk. After my talk, every defendant has used my arguments and has won. So Katy Perry, Led Zeppelin for "Stairway to Heaven," Ed Sheeran twice, once in the US and once in the UK. All of them argued what I argued in my TED Talk, saying maybe those melodies are unoriginal, therefore uncopyrightable. So correlation is not causation, but there's pretty good correlation that before my talk, everybody lost, and after my talk, everybody's winning.
Well, that's a pretty big effect. I think it's amazing. It is a public benefit to everyone and artists that they don't have to worry about that, because you're right. Like, just me, like, intuitively not knowing all the minutia of it, but there are a lot of melodies that sound similar. The melody of La Bamba, for example, is like similar to others, and to have somebody say, got you, and then try to, it has a real chilling effect on creativity. So was there some, like, inciting incident? Was there something that got you interested in pursuing that and doing that?
Yeah. It was, I was in copyright class in law school, and we read the George Harrison case where the Chiffons sued him for a song that he said he'd never heard before. And the court said, I believe you, George Harrison, that you don't remember hearing that song, but what I think you did was you subconsciously infringed. And while I was sitting there in class, I thought, that is so ridiculous, because essentially that judge is flipping the burden of proof. Because in every other case, like, I as a plaintiff have to prove that you as a defendant did it. But in this case, the judge said, no, you, George Harrison, as a defendant, have to prove that you didn't do something. You have to prove a negative. And I thought, what other cases? One, proving a negative is philosophically impossible. You can't prove a negative. You can't prove that you've never heard a song over the supermarket's loudspeaker. You can't prove that nobody held their phone up to you and said, hey, listen to this song, right? So you can't prove that you've never heard a song. So it seemed to me very unjust. Then around 2019, when I had the idea for the project, the All the Music project, I thought, oh, this is maybe a way we can remedy that. To be able to say, hey, you won't have to, maybe the George Harrison case, we could say maybe those melodies that you're getting sued over are unoriginal in the first place. Therefore, they don't have copyright. Therefore, stop suing over stupid things. Just make music. It's not your melody. It's not my melody. We're actually just pulling from the same corpus of already existing melodies. So let's just make music and stop suing each other over.
Well, thank you for doing that. And another thing that you've been doing that I find absolutely fascinating, and again, it's that kind of system structural thinking that you bring to this, is tagging, right? So, like, one of the issues with all of the data that we're talking about is that the data that lives in place A versus the data that lives in place B might not be interoperable. They might have different formatting. They might call this kind of thing, I don't know, a giraffe over here, but over here they call it a zebra. But essentially they're the same thing, so they should be able to talk to each other. And so my understanding, and for benefit of the audience, is that if you take a legal matter and you divvy it up, you could tag certain things within that legal matter as being certain concepts. And by labeling it as those certain concepts, everyone can agree that these are the concepts, and it can make sense of data across different systems.
That's right. Yeah, and a good example of your giraffe is that a motion to dismiss is a motion to dismiss everywhere, except for California, where it's called a demur, right? And so these are two different words for the same concept. And so from 2020, for about 5 years, I worked with Sally to be able to count 18,000 things that matter, including motion to dismiss. And I put as motion to dismiss, a synonym of motion to dismiss is demur. And another synonym is MTD, which time entries might have MTD within that. And then other jurisdictions call it a motion to terminate, right? These are all different synonyms for the same legal concept. And so what we did is we put a unique identifier on that concept. And then Sally is now an interoperability tool that's being used by Thomson Reuters and LexisNexis and iManage and NetDocuments and the biggest law firms in the world and the biggest in-house counsel in the world. And all of them are coalescing around this legal data standard, saying that if I want to run an API call and say, hey, Thomson Reuters, send me all your motions to dismiss, or hey, VLEX, send me all your motions to dismiss, you'll send that Sally unique identifier, and then we'll send you all of our motions to dismiss. Then change that endpoint to another vendor, and they'll send you all of their motions to dismiss. So because everyone is counting motion to dismiss with the same unique identifier, that allows interoperability between law firms, their vendors, and their clients.
And it's essential nowadays with so much data and things being in so many different locations and formatted differently that we have to have some kind of common code, some Rosetta Stone to read
That's
between.
right. And it's not just a Rosetta Stone of, demur versus motion to dismiss, but we actually have translations into 20 different languages. So we have Spanish, we have French, we have German, we have Hindi, we have Chinese, we have Japanese. So Mike Bomarito was able to do that translation of those 18,000 tags. And now Sally is being used by Indians, that is people from India, and people from France and Germany and South Africa and all sorts of places, because it's truly a Rosetta Stone of both language and the concepts. Everyone has murder. Everyone has.
Is Aaliyah part of that?
So Aaliyah is a separate 501c3 nonprofit that oversees the Folio project that I'm donating all my time to these days. Folio, Sally is open source. That is MIT licensed. And so what Folio has done is taken a copy of Sally and under the MIT license, given attribution back to Sally. And now Folio is building a lot of tools and other things on top of what Sally's done. So yeah, Aaliyah is a nonprofit overseeing Folio, where I'm doing most of my work these days.
That's awesome. And putting it kind of in perspective, it like these different things that you're doing at the same time that you're doing your regular professional work, it all falls into the same theme. And the theme is, thinking in systems, and also like thinking in systems that benefit the public, that are open, that everyone can take advantage of, to communicate with each other and do good in the world and make things better.
That's exactly right. And it kind of goes back to my Catholic upbringing, right? We were taught, through Catholic school, that we are meant to do lives of service, we need to do good in the world, we need to put good in the world without recompense, without payment. And so, for Sally, I worked for 5 years, probably gave between 4,000 and 5,000 hours of my time, and I got exactly $0 for all of my Sally work. I donate time to the Governor's Council. Minnesota's governor appointed me co-chair, along with the Department of Transportation, of a council to see should Minnesota regulate or not regulate autonomous vehicles. I've given hundreds of hours to them, no compensation. So I think that, it's part of our duty, I think, as good humans, to be able to give to humanity. That is, there's the old joke that, it's not really a joke, but Spider-Man, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I think that if, for those of us lucky enough to be lawyers, I think we are expected to be able to do good for humanity. And I'm just trying to do my part.
Agreed. So with all of that, to use it for the benefit of the public and mankind, I want to turn to the subject of AI, because it enables, and of course, generative AI is the subspecies that I'm talking about and referring to right now, is that it's moving so quickly, but it's also like opening these opportunities that we've never had existing before. And I just want to get, your thoughts about what it means. Is it truly leading to an abundant society where we have all these things that we've been hoping for? Are there, these critical worries that we need to have? Maybe it's a mixture of both. I just wanted to get your kind of reaction to the moment that we're in right now.
I think we're going to have abundance if we let it. That is, if we don't muck it up. And I think the risk of mucking it up is quite high. I'm going to try to do everything I can to try to keep us from mucking it up. And I think we societally need to do that. But there's a lot of good that can be done with large language models and with generative AI, because access to justice, the 92% of legal needs that are unmet because we lawyers are too expensive. We've tried to pro bono our way out of that, and we've not been able to pro bono our way out of that. I read a study saying that if every lawyer in the United States donated time to be able to meet that 92%, each lawyer would have to give, I think, 25 hours a month, not a year, 25 hours per month to be able to meet that access to justice gap. So we can't pro bono our way out of this, but maybe we can large language model our way out of this. I think maybe we can be able to, we've given maybe a blessing and an opportunity to be able to help people who need help in a way that might not be harmful to them and might be actually quite helpful to them. So I think that access to justice, we have an opportunity to do good. And just for regular legal work, I think lawyers can use the large language models to do their work faster, better, stronger, in a way that is more fulfilling, that is doing less of the drudgery and doing more of the stuff that is the higher levels of our degree. My friend Casey Flaherty says that we as lawyers do a lot of thinking and we do a lot of thunking. And maybe AI can take care of a lot of the thunking that we don't want to do, the drudgery.
I love that. Yeah. Less thunking, more thinking.
Yeah.
And more of the bionic lawyer, right?
That's right. That's right. And I think that leads to Jevons paradox, which is maybe we can shrink the unit cost of something, which will actually make society want more of it. So we thought LED light bulbs were going to save us a lot of energy, but they're so cheap we just leave them on all the time. So it's too cheap to measure. So what if legal work were too cheap to measure? What if today or yesterday somebody might say, "Gosh, Tom, my lawyer, every time I call him, it's $1,000. Forget it. I'm just going to risk it. I'm not going to call Tom." But if that $1,000 shrinks to $100, I'm going to call you every day. And in the aggregate, I'm going to spend way more than $1,000 because each call is going to. So I think we can, as lawyers, can be able to serve that 92%, maybe, and be able to maybe make more money in the process, and maybe society will be better off in the long run.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think that it is scary though for people that, myself included, thinking through how that's going to affect us in the short term because we're used to this way of doing it, and just the time and strain it might take to get to that other side.
Yeah, I think we as humans are scarcity, right? Scarcity. We're through evolution, we've said, okay, gosh, are we going to have enough food to be able to make it through the next harvest, right? So scarcity is just baked into our DNA, almost literally. But so it's hard for us to think about abundance. What if Jevons paradox becomes true, and what if now we're going to unlock all of this latent demand, that 92% legal needs? Economists would call that latent demand that's just waiting for us to tap in. So maybe we can have abundance.
And maybe some of it is just us like committing to it and believing it to be true that we can make it so.
That's right. My feather can make me fly. Therefore, I will.
So with the time we have left, let me ask you the couple of questions I ask all of my guests. And the first one has to do with, we just talked about all of the stuff that you're into. You have many things going on, and I'm sure there's more we didn't even get to. And for the benefit of the audience, like, what are some tips or tricks that you have about keeping everything balanced? Do you have a work-life balance? How do you keep it going?
So at age 47, I was diagnosed with ADHD, which is an explainer of why I have so many pots and irons in the fire, pots, as you might say. So I would say that if I'm not busy, I'm bored. And boredom to somebody with ADHD is a very awful thing. So I don't know if I have much work-life balance. I try to fill every crack with something I think is meaningful and something I think is interesting. And so often that, of course, involves my family. I have 2 kids who I love dearly, and I have a wife who I love dearly. So I spend some time with them. And when I'm not spending time with them, I'm doing about 12 different things that make me happy. And so, it's hard to say, I could get paid for those 12 things, but I choose not to get paid for those 12 things. I have one job with VLEX that pays me really well. And so therefore, I can have the luxury of doing those other 12 things without. without compensation. So when you think about work-life balance, I think of like all 12 of those things as kind of being working. That is contributing to society in a way that I think is making society richer a little bit. And so, it's hard to say, well, this is my personal life and this is my professional life, because to me, they're kind of intermingled.
Amazing answer. And I wish that were true for all of us, that we could kind of merge the two together, because it's more fulfilling that way.
You want to have meaning as a human. You can find meaning at home and find a human meaning in your work.
Which naturally leads to the last question, which is, at the end of the day, after doing all of this, what makes it, worthwhile for you?
I've given many interviews like this. I've never talked about my Catholic faith in the past, so now you've made me bring it up 3 times. But I think it's probably worth it. But it is the idea that I'm going to be in a box someday. I'm going to be dead. I'm about half done, if lucky. Right? I'm 50 years old. What is my life going to amount to in the end? And if we're not helping people, what's the point? That is, I think that life's meaning is from being able to build something that you're proud of and that can bring meaning to others. And so I think everything that I try to do is to try to do both of those things, whether it's my work at VLEX or work that I did for many years with Sally, the work I'm currently doing with Folio, the work I'm doing with autonomous vehicles, the work I'm doing with music. All those things, I try to do something that will stand the test of time. So when I'm in a box, people will say, he probably did something that made the world better than when he came into it. So I think that if I can have somebody say that about me, it's probably been a pretty good life.
Well, that would be a wonderful legacy.
Here's hoping.
Well, Damien, thank you so much for spending time with me. It's been a wonderful conversation and experience, and I really think the audience will benefit from your words of wisdom.
Tom, I'm really grateful for the conversation. As I say, I do lots of these conversations, and none has been as personal as this one. So thank you for giving this platform to me and to others.
And for the benefit of the audience, I'm sure they would like to reach out to you, maybe learn more about VLEX, learn more about your music project, about the tagging project, and all of the good stuff. How can they keep in touch with you?
LinkedIn is the best spot. It's for years it was kind of the ugly stepchild, but now it's really the place I like to hang out. So LinkedIn is the best spot.
Sounds great. And for all of you watching, thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as I have, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you so much for watching the latest episode of the LawDroid Manifesto podcast. To keep in the loop about upcoming episodes, please subscribe to LawDroid Manifesto and you'll get notified. Thanks for watching. See you next time.